What's shaking there, gents? I've just been watching videos for the last couple of hours, and I was just watching some ice videos, and uh, just and I seen one. I'll probably do a video about some of them later, but there was one where they were they were. It was a ride along, where you had people with the police while they were going down a interstate, and um, the cop was started talk. He started telling the guy what exactly it is, what the goal is, what are they trying to do, and I just found it really really interesting because to hear the way he put it, because really, it's we see it more, or at least I've always seen it as more of like a cat and mouse thing. Like they're trying to catch you red-handed. They're trying to punish those that are, you know, not obeying the law. The law. I mean, and that's their ultimate goal. But it's not actually. What this cop was saying, like you see there's cars on the road because they got a cameraman, and you can see the cars around him. And he starts explaining his thought process, and there's a guy in a suburban that's going like kind of fast, and then realizes there's a cop, and lets off his the gas like anybody would do. I mean, if you miss, if you don't realize there's a police officer, in the next lane or behind you or in front of you or whatever, you don't blatantly break the law in front of the law. It's not a good idea. It's just not. It's not a good idea. So I mean, and you're like, ooh, you always feel a little bit embarrassed because they're seeing it, and they and that they know you're reacting specifically to their presence. And but the cop actually said, that he lets those guys go, and his explanation was, you know, that guy's just in a hurry to get someplace, and he sees me and immediately, whoa, I'm going a little bit too, wait a second, what am I doing here? And backs off. That is a cop sees that as a good response. To my mind, I've always thought that's almost like the worst response. Like I've always driven a manual, and I've always liked the fact that I can slow down really quick by downshifting, and my brake lights don't kick on. So cops, they can't tell it that I just dropped 15 or 20 miles an hour. But in retrospect, it kind of makes me feel like an idiot. Like, because now it occurs to me that the fact that you're backing off, uh, it shows that you have respect, to some degree, that you respect their authority, and they don't view that as a threat. What they look for, they're like doing pattern recognition, especially on the highway. And I think like the whole process of ticketing, that's like when the cops are on the road, I think from what I could see, they're just making sure that nobody is putting anybody else at risk, that nobody is unknowingly or knowingly putting people at risk. If you have a brake light out and you don't know it, you're putting people at risk, but you don't know it. That's, I mean, I go out of my way to make sure I tell people if they have a brake light out, or if their gas cap is not on, or if their pump door is open. I think that's only right, because I would hope people would do the same for me. But and the cops, they're watching, and they only pull people over that they feel they need to investigate further. Like they're judging everybody on how they're driving. Is this, when they look at somebody, are they driving straight? Are they, in and out of the lanes? Are they a hazard on the highway? Um, and if they are in and out of the lanes, are they just, like reaching for something real quick, or are they reacting to something, in their car, or is it just a momentary lapse in their driving? Um, and then if they can't figure it out if they can't figure you out from your driving, whether or not you're safe to be on the road, they pull you over and make sure that you're sober, and that that you don't have any unnecessary distractions, or that you're not falling asleep at the wheel. Like that's like actually what they're doing. Apparently, from what I can gather, that's more or less that's their job, is to make sure that to patrol the roads and make sure those that could possibly cause harm to others are stopped from driving. I never thought of it like that. Um, I always just thought of it as us and them, and the whole cops and robbers thing, that really doesn't have anything to do with driving. So it's kind of, I mean, that's just naturally where my mind always went with it. But really, on the road, they are just uh, like sifting and making sure that nobody's putting anybody else at undue risk, because driving is dangerous as hell as it is. We all know that. And I most certainly do want cops to be pulling people, or if someone's drunk, yeah, and if they're driving erratically, heck yeah. And I have been pulled over several times, where a cop pulled me over and then within 5 words was like, "Oh, have a nice day." Like seriously. Like I remember one time I was going over to a girlfriend's house at like 3 in the morning, and I pulled out of my neighborhood, and I forget what happened when I pulled out, but I like didn't have the wheel. I was in a Wrangler, really short wheelbase, and it turned really fast, and I corrected it. It was at 3 in the morning. He was the only other person on the road, and nothing was going on. I was in pajamas, and I was just driving over to my girlfriend's house to go stay at her house for the evening, or for the rest of the night. I was like 19, and like I slept all day and did stuff all night. It's like what 19-year-olds do. And anyway, he pulled me over because he thought, make sure that I'm not drunk, I guess. And at the time, it really bothered me. I was like, dude, I'm leaving my neighborhood. I'm not leaving the bar. Like, I'm in pajamas. I didn't have a top on, like the top of the vehicle. It was totally open. I'm like, dude, I'm in my pajamas, man. Like, bro. Like, I mean, to me, it bothered me. I was like, come on, man, for real though. Like, I'm just going to my girlfriend's house. There's nobody on the road, for me to be worried about. But and he actually would. It was kind of weird because he was like he was actually quite mad that. I mean, I remember there was a little bit of abrasiveness because there was nothing going on, and it was a waste of his time, and it was just I could tell that he was like, waste of my time. I mean, it just kind of bothered him, like, why did I even pull this idiot over, or something along those lines. But I remember when he was talking to me for a second, it did bother me though that because I didn't have a top, this guy was flashlighting all in the Jeep, and I'm like, come, dude, like for real though, man. And it was clean in the Jeep and stuff, and I was just thinking like, and in retrospect, really he was just making sure, um, that if I continued, I would get to where I was going safe. And it does make sense because a lot of times they, like if your license is suspended and they're letting you go, like if you're like a half mile from your house, just let you go home. But they might follow you, perhaps. But a lot of times they'll just like, like, oh, you're going home? Like, you sure? And you're going straight home, and you know that you're not going to make any stop. All right, all right, you go ahead and go straight home, and then they let you go home. Um, so it does actually kind of like sometimes you just the your viewpoint or the lens that you see things through is just totally inaccurate, totally false, or just uh, you know, you have no idea the things at play. There's a lot more complexity to a situation than we like to. At least I like, it's like a lot of times I don't realize what's going on behind the scenes, until I know what's going on behind the scenes. It's just, one of those things.